Today I'm going to share with you my interview with David Foster Wallace, who is a famous writer, and we got to talk about board games and Euro games more specifically. Enjoy. You've mentioned that Euro games are just multiplayer solitaire games. When did you first notice this?
Well, of course, nobody tells you. I mean, mom and dad don't sit you down and say this. This is something very subtle and is delivered by a great many messages.
So how would you describe Euro games?
This is one enormous engine and temple of self-gratification and self-advancement, and in some ways it works very, very well.
Some people have mentioned that trading in the Mediterranean is not the most exciting thing on the world.
Yeah.
But there are some things that work well in Euro games, right?
Works very well as a system for running an economy and keeping goods produced and sold, and it works wonderfully. The ways in which it doesn't work are much more difficult to talk about.
So what's your advice to people who don't like Euro games?
Simply sets us up to give ourselves away to something different. For instance,
war games?
Or drugs, or the idea of having a lot of money and being able to buy nice stuff. Now, is this part going to make it onto the interview? Are we going to hear this part?
Nope.
No. Okay, that's what I figured. All right, keep going. Keep going.
It seems to me like you don't find Euro games all that exciting.
No, it's, I mean, there's a difference, though, I think, between being mildly bored, but then there's another kind of boredom that I think you're talking about, which is, there's an almost dread that comes up, I think.
When was the last time you won a Euro game?
It was a while ago.
How does it feel when you're playing a worker placement game and another player takes the spot you needed?
And one of the things it causes is tension and unhappiness in people. I don't think it's very complicated, and I don't think I've named the only reason for it. The paradox is that sort of tension and complication and conflict in people also makes them very easy to market to, because I can say to you, feeling uneasy, life feels empty. Well, here's something you can buy or something you can go do.
What do you think people who like Euro games will say when they hear this?
It would be very easy to make fun of what I'm saying. You know, it'd be very, very easy to make fun of what I'm saying, and I can hear in my head a voice making fun of this stuff as I'm saying it.
Imagine you arrive at a friend's home and they have Agricola already set up on the table and ask you to play.
It then becomes very difficult to say no. On the other hand, I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's good.
And how would that situation make you feel?
It makes me nervous, and it makes me self-conscious to try to talk about stuff that I find almost impossible to talk about. Or else just to go, so how long are you in town? Oh, 3 days, you know.
I heard that when you play with miniatures, you like to make gun sound effects. Can you show us? Can you do it again? Isn't that a little bit childish?
To the extent that I understand it, being what you call grown up isn't a lot of fun a lot of the time. There are things you have to do. There are things you want to do that you can't do.
Can you give us an example?
Speak pompously about very, very complex, abstruse matters.
So I want to finish up with an easy question.
If the question is easy to answer if it's dull or stupid.
Okay, so I'll try to ask a good question.
The good questions are questions that can't be answered in a Q&A format, right?
Okay, so just in 2 words, define Euro games.
It can be both a wake-up call and an anesthetic.